A lot has happened today in the world of World of Warcraft Season of Discovery. The first weekend after launch is finally over, and that means Blizzard employees are back in the office, fixing a lot of the bugs or issues that we definitely saw happening over the first weekend. And I'm going to try to break down everything that happened so you guys are informed on pretty much all of it. But if I missed something, let me know in the comments. First of all, if you missed it, even more nerfs have now happened to the Sunken Temple raid, bringing it a little bit closer now to being on par difficulty-wise as Gnomergan. It's still slightly more mechanics, but realistically things are a lot easier. And it starts with Shade of Aranicus being brought down to 1.45 million HP, where it was originally slightly above 4 million HP. And this is the second HP nerf that's happened on this fight, making it a lot easier. And this happened live for a lot of guilds that were struggling with it, or pugs that were struggling with it. They were able to easily get it down. Now this is Prefox's POV right here in the background. But another thing that changed on this fight is you can now see that the poisons have a more distinct glow. The range of the poison is now green and purplish blue instead of just being a poison cloud. It is a lot easier to see these to be able to dodge them. On top of that, the breath from the boss was nerfed. Instead of doing reducing the armor of the main tank by 100%, it now reduces it by 33%. The HP of the ads was also nerfed as well, making them easier to defeat, and the boss no longer can thrash. This is the biggest change. The boss was hitting tanks 3 times in any 1 second, and hitting the tank 3 times for 1500 HP is literally just one-shotting a lot of tanks. The boss can no longer do that, although it is technically a mechanic that I think every dragon has in classic World of Warcraft, but the thrash is no longer part of the game. This makes this fight a lot easier. Although the original strategy everyone was using to down it, the wall strategy has been fixed. There is a new strategy where you tank it underneath the little bones right here, and if you do that, the ads will all spawn in one location. And on top of that, the Shade of Hakar fight was also nerfed. Just its HP values were brought down because that was more of a loot pinata that took a little bit of extra time, but it is still a pretty easy fight. And past the nerfs, Blizzard decided to launch 2 insane things this week. And the first one is the Dark Moon card Sandstorm. Look at this damage from a rogue. Shout out to Perfect for posting this. That is 4,000 DPS from the Dark Moon card Sandstorm. It will proc and do insane amounts of damage. This is the card that whenever you attack or use a spell, it has a chance to summon those sandstorms, dealing 100 to 200 damage to every mob that it passes through. Well, the proc rate for this is absolutely ridiculous, almost 100%, meaning normal attacks will just spawn an infinite amount of sandstorms. And I showed you before it actually doing crazy damage, but let's look at it in a log. This right here is the world's rank #1 DPS on Shade of Aranicus, or it was earlier today, for a warlock tank. And we can look here, seeing that 67% of this warlock tank's damage, 700 DPS of it, was from Dark Moon card Sandstorm. 700 DPS from one trinket. This is not only the strongest trinket in the game by far, nothing's ever been even close to as powerful as doing 66% of your damage on a fight, but it will most likely then be nerfed. Although if it doesn't get nerfed, it's gonna be insanely expensive. But again, this is perfect, just showing the damage on normal trash mobs. This is gonna be so powerful that it is going to be absolutely necessary for everyone in the game. Kind of like Dark Moon card Greatness, everyone is going to need this if it does not see some tuning. Well, that's not the only thing that's incredibly overpowered right now in the game. The second one, which you're probably noticed on any of the forums or Reddit, is going to be the new lightning shield runes for shamans. Looking at the DPS here, 1300 DPS from a shaman that's actually tanking on this fight. And a lot of it is coming from the lightning shield rune. It's just giving you 200 or 170 DPS realistically, but imagine if this shaman also had Sandstorm. That's going to be doing about 2,000 DPS, and this was before the boss was nerfed. So these together, the Lightning Shield as well as Sandstorm, just do ridiculous amounts of damage. Right here, it is 20% of this Shaman's damage at 250 DPS, and most of it's at the end of the fight, doing over 1,000 DPS just from Lightning Shield towards the end of the fight. This is absolutely insane and most likely should see some tuning, but what did see tuning today is the Ashen Veil Incursion event. The experience gained from the incursions was nerfed over 50% actually. So originally this was by far the fastest way to level. It was just so efficient and honestly not the most fun and unique. But what players were doing was spamming the incursions to get all the way from level 40 to level 50 in about 3 to 4 hours. And each one of these quests was giving about 7,700 experience. Now they're giving 3,500 experience, and that's on top of getting a 25% XP buff, because the Discoverer's Delight buff that was giving you 50% extra XP all the way from 40 to 50 is now buffed all the way up to 75%. So you actually saw a huge nerf to the Nightmare Incursions, meaning players are probably, hopefully, gonna level in the open world, but realistically there's probably going to be a lot of boosting or ZF farming. Just level up whichever way you wanted. And on a lighter note, I just want to show you a cool thing. My friend got both of the fist weapons from the raid, the Epic Fist, and whenever the proc happens, it will turn you into a giant snake, very reminiscent of the fist weapons from ZG that would turn you into a tiger. These will turn you into a giant snake and give you 150 attack power for 20 seconds. Massively powerful fist weapons, so these are going to be awesome to see people get them. Next up, players have noticed that they are no longer able to trade or use the auction house for some of their accounts, and Blizzard has responded, just letting everybody know that they are basically restricting anyone from trading using the auction house or sending any mail on a fresh account. If the account has not been active for more than 30 days, then it will not be able to basically interact with other players. Now, I think this is definitely massively restrictive for anyone that wants to join the game or start a new account, but it's quite obvious that this is significantly targeting botting to just kind of reduce the botting that's going on in the game. Although the economy is kind of a little wonky right now already after just thousands or tens of thousands, millions of people made ridiculous amount of gold from the incursions. So it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out and how this actually affects the community. You also might have noticed this Ompi guy going into your Warsong Gulch, carrying the flag and then using the bush. And you would never see the flag ever again. You weren't able to tell who was the flag carrier if everyone on the other team was using the new bush cosmetic items. This is something that Blizzard's obviously gonna fix if it hasn't been fixed already, but it makes the flag disappear. This was just kind of a funny one to see. And as if warriors weren't upset already last phase with the armor values of the bosses, it does seem like Gladiator stance is coded as stance number 1 instead of having it be stance number 4 as a new stance. It is now coded as stance number 1. So any warrior macros that you use, all of those get completely broken whenever you equip Gladiator stance, and then they get broken all over again whenever you get rid of it. I would anticipate Blizzard will just code it as stance number 4 eventually, but it just doesn't make much sense. Right now, it is definitely really frustrating for warriors that are using it to have to rewrite all of their macros or use something like my slot every single time they want to use Gladiator stance. And that should cover everything that's happened so far in Season of Discovery Phase 2. On top of that, we did discover this weekend how to unlock your epic crafting gear, and the mob has finally been fixed. It was bugged. I spent 16 hours from 10:30 in the morning on Saturday trying to complete this quest to just give you guys a video on how to do it, but I just ended up releasing the video, which you can find somewhere, just to show you how to get your epic crafting gear. Again, if you want to stay up to date, everything Season of Discovery, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys all on the next one.